Welcome to episode 213 of the Daniel Yoris podcast. 1 million workouts. Let's go. One of the most common questions that I get as a trainer is what exercises should I be doing? What workouts should I be doing? How do I make a workout that's good? Or how do I avoid doing a workout that's bad? Or what workouts are good for me? Questions along this line. And, I'll say something like, well, squats, deadlifts, bench press, pull-ups, rows, split squats. And the natural follow-up to that is, okay, so should I do all of that in the same workout? And the answer is no. I mean, maybe, probably not. It depends, as always. And then depending on the setting, far too often these kind of conversations happen in the incorrect setting. We're out at dinner, we're at a party, we're in a social setting, not in a place where one is going to remember what was talked about, implement anything, or in some sort of professional setting, in a gym at least, just in a social setting. So it's okay, well, we can just discuss a little bit, but let's have another discussion at another time. And so the answer is it depends, and there's more. So the question then is, well, so what do you do? How do you write workouts and workout programs that are specific to your individual needs and your goals? Now, two things before I get into this. There's a couple things, actually. There are kind of a lot of details that will go into this. So if you're watching on the video, excuse me if I am kind of looking down at my notes here, just to make sure that I'm staying on track and not going off on tangents, because there's unlimited amount of tangents that can happen from this discussion. So I want to stay on track. That's number one. Number two, something that I see a little bit far too often online, and people asking about, people post on social media asking, what workouts do I do for this? And what they mean is, what exercises do I do? And so just to define things, if this is so that we're on the same page here, an exercise is a single movement, a squat, a push-up, a sit-up, a pull-up. Those are exercises. When you put a bunch of exercises together, that you go to the gym and you do 5 or 6 exercises, that together, all of those exercises is a workout. And then the workouts that you do over the course of a week or over a course of months, that is your workout program. So that's probably pretty basic for most of you, but just to reiterate that, exercises are single movements, workouts are a collection of movements that you do over the course of an entire training session. And a workout program is all of those over multiple days and weeks and months. A while ago, probably, I'd have to say about a year ago, probably, I wrote this document called 1 million workouts. And the idea of it was, this was the last thing that you would need so that you could kind of have literally unlimited workouts. Obviously, I wasn't going to write out 1 million individual workouts. That would be ridiculous. It would take, I don't even know how many pages it would be, but it would obviously be a lot of pages, and no one would read through that whole thing, and no one needs 1 million workouts. I think I did the calculation where it's if you went to the gym 5 days a week every single day for 20 years, you would need obviously way less than 1 million workouts at that. So you don't need 1 million workouts, but the point of it really was to describe, hey, here's how to go about creating a workout program that makes sense, and then gave a matrix or a chart basically of a bunch of different exercises, not every single exercise in existence, but a lot of the main ones. And then using the parameters in the document, you could basically, plug and play any of those exercises, and then you based on the number of combinations that were possible, have 1 million or, unlimited number of workouts basically. But I never released that. And the reason is because I just didn't know what the best vehicle to do that was. The document was quite long. My idea initially was just to kind of release this as a free thing, kind of an email lead magnet thing. Hey, here's this free resource. It's amazing. Sign up for my email list and I'll send it to you. But it was too detailed, and I couldn't simplify it and shorten it enough to make it so that people would use it, because part of the problem with free things like that is that people don't use them. They download them and they get excited about it, and if it's more than a page or a couple pages long or something not super simple, they won't read it. And fair enough. I probably wouldn't read it either because you just don't value it enough. And that'll come into play at some point through this episode. But so I didn't release it like that. It's like, well, can I release it just as an article? I don't know. As some sort of ebook thing to sell. That didn't feel right because it's not like some secret knowledge. And so I just sat on it for a while. And anyways, I figured it's time I can throw it in a podcast setting. It's definitely different without having the visuals and kind of plug and play aspects. But there will be some ways that you can practically use this. So I will be explaining all of that kind of stuff in this episode, and we'll go from there. Now, before we get into it, if you realize that like you need an individualized training program, but you don't really want to do it yourself, go to the link in the description of this podcast, whether you're listening on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, whatever. You can pay me, and I'll do it for you. Easy as ever. I mean, you pay to get your burritos customized. Why wouldn't you get your workouts customized as well? That seems like a no-brainer to me, but obviously I'm a little bit biased in there. So if you would rather just me do it, then you can just pay me to do that, and I will be happy to do so. So that'll save you a lot of time and maybe some headaches and get you better results in the gym as well. So wins all around. Let's actually get into this though. You want to get in shape. Summer's coming up. You've been going to the gym. You're doing whatever you're doing. Tired of not getting the results that you want. You realize that, hey, maybe there's something more that I've got to be doing. Maybe my workouts aren't right. Maybe there's something else I should be doing in the gym. Different exercises, a different workout split, something like that. And you want to improve it so you can get better results. You're in the right place. And this is how we'll get into it. So I've broken it down in a way that this is very similar as to how I write programs for my clients and how I've kind of always written programs for my clients. And it's sort of systematic. Now, the way that it gets organized in my head is a little bit different because these things are a little bit more, say, like automatic to me because this is my job. But I've tried to systematize it and sort of put it in an order that will make the most sense for you. So frequency and your life schedule is consideration number one. You are not a professional athlete or a professional bodybuilder, more likely than not. And so your life doesn't revolve around training. Training will revolve around your life. So if you can make it into the gym twice a week, 3 times a week, 4 times a week, 5 times a week, whatever, then that's great. Do that, and then everything else will go based on that. Don't think about this as what is like optimal or ideal, because you're kind of splitting hairs. What matters most is that you can stick to the schedule. So if you can make it in 2 days a week, and that is like locked in, you can do that, then great. Let's roll with that and go forwards from there. If you know that you can make it in 4 days a week and that's not going to be a problem for you, then awesome, and go there. I would say this, it's a minimum 2 days a week. I don't want to say maximum, but like 5 days a week of lifting is probably more than enough for most people. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't be exercising every day. I think that everyone should be exercising every single day. But exercising every day doesn't need to be lifting weights, and it doesn't need to be exercising super hard and training your hardest, right? Some of those days can be cardio days. Some of those days can be like mobility or stretching days. But like this is just talking about your lifting program only. So if there's other workouts that you want to fit in, then fit those in as well. But think about how many days a week do you want to be lifting weights? What are you willing and able to do? And then we can mold everything else around that, because obviously your schedule and the exercises, or like your workout schedule and the exercises that you will end up selecting are going to be different if you're working out 2 days a week versus working out 5 days a week. And just so we're clear, to reiterate, every time I mention working out for the rest of this podcast, I mean lifting weights, not other types of exercise. The workout split is what we're getting at here, right? Different workout splits are not necessarily better or worse than others. Again, they're more catered to one schedule. Ideally, most people, you want to be hitting all the muscle groups twice a week or a frequency close to that. And so you want to choose a split that will be conducive to that. So if you're training twice a week, 99% of the time, you're going to go 2 full body workouts. It's kind of the only way to split it up so that you're going to be hitting all the muscles twice a week because you're only working out twice a week. 3 times a week, you could still go full body, full body, full body. You could go upper body, lower body, full body. You could go like some other splits that I like to use is like within a workout, you do like upper push and lower pull, and I'll explain more about what that is. So it's kind of full body-ish, but like not quite. And then you do the opposite. So you go upper body pull and lower body push, and then maybe a full body in the last one. 4 days would be different. You go upper, lower. There's kind of infinite ways to split it up, and it doesn't really matter is the point that I'm trying to get at here. It doesn't really matter so long as the schedule works with your life schedule and you're trying to hit every muscle group or movement pattern twice in a week. Now, all of this like coincides with what your goal is as well. To some degree, like everyone's goal is the same: build muscle and lose fat. Now, I definitely encourage you to kind of dig deeper into your own heart, into your own head, and figure out like what is your deeper motivation, what are your deeper goals with training, and what are you trying to achieve or get out of this. But mechanically and physically in the gym, it's always going to come down to like building muscle and losing fat, and really it's even simpler than that. It's building muscle and getting stronger. Like the losing fat thing is going to happen basically at the same rate, no matter what your workouts are, based on the amount of calories that are burned in your workouts. But the fat loss is going to be more driven by your diet and your lifestyle and your steps and all that stuff outside of the gym. So separate discussion. This is what I mean about tangents in this. So that's what I gotta stick to my notes. So mechanically, it's always going to kind of come back to the same thing. If you're a little bit more advanced in talking about splits, there may be a point in your lifting career where you are wanting to emphasize or de-emphasize certain body parts or muscle groups. This is where none of the rules, again, quote unquote, are like hard and fast. Like, yes, I said you should be aiming to hit everything twice a week, but if you're trying to emphasize something, you may want to up that to 3 times a week. And if you're trying to de-emphasize something, you may only want to do that once a week. And you may even have periods of time where you don't want to train a certain body part. And that doesn't mean skip leg day just because like, oh, bro, I don't care about my legs. I'll just, wear snow pants, which I'm sure I've told this story before, but I had a client who hilariously said that to me. He said, why do we got to wear snow pants? Or why do we got to train legs? I'll just wear Gucci snow pants in the summer. Hilarious guy. I love that guy. But anyways, these are very, like, I will very, very rarely ever have a client do something like this where they're like skipping an entire body part, to de-emphasize something. This is definitely more of like an advanced, training technique or closer to like that bodybuilding level of like getting very particular about your physique. But that would be one of the types of scenarios where you're not really aiming to hit everything necessarily twice in a week, and you might hit things more than twice or less than twice or not at all. In general, you should train everything, kind of balanced, but again, there's time and a place for everything. So, that's all I've got to say about the splits. The next thing to consider on your schedule side of things is how much time you can allot to each workout. And this will change more things going deeper into this. But if you can train 4 days a week, but you can only train for 30 minutes, obviously that is going to make your workouts look a lot different than if you can train 4 days a week for an hour and a half. Now, it's not necessarily better or worse. Like, more training is not always better. Like, better training is better. But if your training quality is the same, and you can recover from it, then more is going to be better. So you just have to know this. And this could even be like a variable thing where you know that, hey, I can get to the gym 4 days a week, but on Mondays and Thursdays, like, I can only be there for 30 minutes. And on Tuesdays and Fridays, I can be there for an hour and 15 minutes. So you've got to organize your workouts so that your Mondays and Thursdays are shorter and your Tuesdays and Fridays are longer. And that must sound so obvious coming out, but you really just have to take the time to sit down and think about your schedule and figure out like, okay, what can I actually commit to here? And if that one of those 30 minutes becomes a day where you can, you've got 40 minutes that day because you were a little early, there wasn't much traffic, whatever, then great. But think about what the minimum that you can actually commit to is, and then commit to that, and then you have to organize the rest of your workouts going forward. So there's nothing wrong with 30-minute workouts, nothing wrong with like 40-minute workouts. Like those are fine. You can make phenomenal results and progress at that. You just got to stick to it, be consistent, and train hard, and all those good things. Ideally, and for the most part, like 45 to 60 minutes, 70 minutes is solid for a workout. So if you can commit that time regularly, that is great, and you won't have to make too many concessions as far as like, okay, I have a short workout, so I've got to cut out some exercises or stuff like that. You should be able to pretty much fit as much in as you need to. Like very few people, unless you're a little bit of a higher level and it's taking you longer to warm up, or there's like just less efficiency in your workout or something, like very rarely will you need an hour and a half in the gym for lifting. Very, very rarely. So all that being considered, at this point now you will have your schedule laid out. You know that you can make it to the gym a certain number of days a week for a certain amount of time, and you can stick to that. It's fine to have bonus days. This is a thing that I use with clients often, is like they'll say like 80% of the time I can get to the gym, like 100% of the time I can make it to the gym 3 times a week. But some weeks I can make it there 4th on the weekend. That's like, great. Let's stick it. Let's make it this. We'll do 3 days a week. We got to get those in. And then I'll throw in like a bonus 4th day. And that 4th day will be something that is, maybe typically more fun, a little bit shorter, a little bit less intense, not necessarily an integral part of the program, but an addition to the program. And so that you can hit that workout whenever you have that 4th day. But if you miss it, it's like, it's not a problem. You're not missing things from your workout, and it's just fun bonus kind of workout. So that's obviously a very fine way to do it as well. If you know that you're going to be a little bit flexible, but you got to plan for the minimum amount that you're going to be able to do. So we've got all that stuff. We can get to the fun part, and that is exercise selection now. So we have the structure of your workout. You know how much time you have, and now we can start choosing actual exercises. We can split exercises up into 2 main categories. We'll call them like main exercises and accessory exercises. Kind of a powerlifting term, where like your main exercises are your squat, bench, deadlift, and your accessories are everything else. But it translates over to us mere mortals here. Main exercises are typically like your big, heavy compound exercises. They use multiple joints in the body. They require generally like more focus, a little bit more intensity. They make you more tired. They're like harder to do. You generally use more weight on them. And then accessories are all of your single joint or isolation movements and things that in general are like less taxing on the body. Now, there's kind of a gray area here, right? Because we're not talking about specifically powerlifting. Powerlifting is very black and white. Squat, bench, deadlift, everything else. For the rest of us, there's a gray area here. Like an inverted row or like a TRX row is a compound back exercise. But it's a lot easier than a pull-up is, or a barbell bent over row is. And so that would be more of like an accessory exercise. Like you wouldn't be using a TRX row as like one of the main exercises that you're trying to progress and work really hard at and do for like a low amount of reps with a high amount of weight, partly because you can't even really add weight to it in your workout. So that would be an example of like something that's like, it's just not just compounds and isolation. There's a little bit more that goes into it. Like, it can even be better defined, the difference between main exercises and accessory exercises as how difficult is it on your body, on your nervous system even. But that's not to say that you shouldn't be trying hard at your accessory exercises. What I mean by difficult or how taxing is this. After you do a set of barbell back squats, that's like pretty hard. you should be like pretty gassed, and it might take you, it might be seeing stars. If you feel a little dizzy, you're like really out of breath. It was a hard set. Your body's like all pumped up and fired up, and it might take you like 3 to 5 minutes before you can actually like go again. You do a really hard set of bicep curls. Your arms might be pumped, you might feel good, but like you're not getting dizzy, and it shouldn't take you 5 minutes to recover from a set of bicep curls. Like that's what I mean about the amount of difficulty inherent to an exercise. And so when you start thinking about this, like when you start like actually going through and writing out exercises, it becomes a little bit more obvious, but there certainly are some exercises that are like a gray area of sorts. But it doesn't matter because it doesn't have to be that specific. It'll become obvious once you start doing it. Now, the main exercises are split up into 4 groups, further subdivided into 4 groups, and they're based on movement patterns or muscle groups. And this is kind of what I was alluding to before, is that upper push, which is going to be like any pushing exercises with your upper body, obviously. So that's your chest exercises, your shoulder exercises, and your triceps are like a part of that. But we wouldn't say that, a triceps rope push down isn't a main exercise type of thing. So upper body push, upper body pull. So all your pulling and row exercises, your pull-ups, your barbell rows, etc. And then same on lower body push would be more like your quad exercises, your squats, your split squats, things like that. And then your lower body pull exercises, your deadlifts, your RDLs, your hip thrusts, things like that. And that's your glutes and hamstrings, right? So more or less divided into those categories for your main exercises. Now, once you have those, and then you can go through and think about, okay, what are upper body push, upper body pull, like write down a few that fall into each of those categories that are like main exercises that you'd be trying on a weekly basis to improve, and that make up like the bulk of your program, the main part of your program, right? All that said, you go through and you choose like 2 to 3, like maybe 1 to 3 even exercises, main exercises per workout. And this again depends on how many workouts that you have in the week to spread them all out over. You might even choose 4. Like if you're doing full body, you might do one of the big exercises, main exercises from each of the movement groups. Now your intensity would be different, and you'd have to be a little bit smarter about this, because it would be really tough to do like squats, barbell bent over rows, deadlifts, and a barbell bench press all in one workout. You would be like pretty destroyed by the end of that. So you got to mix it up with dumbbells and choose like a lighter day for one, a harder day for another, and stuff like that. But you might choose 4 for something like that. But for everything else, 1 to 3. If you're doing just quads, you might just have squats and like accessory stuff after that. Or you might have squats and split squats in, like that's fine too. Again, depending on your whole split, that's how you're gonna kind of delineate these things and choose a couple. Also dependent on how much time you have, right? If you've got a little bit of time, you're choosing less exercises overall. If you got more time, you can maybe choose more exercises overall. Once you have those in, you're gonna choose 2 to 5-ish accessory exercises. Again, largely dependent on how much time you have in the gym and how your split is set up. You could even choose 0, honestly, if you have a short amount of time. And, squats and pull-ups could be your workout. And that's it. And you just do like a few sets of those. If you do like 5 sets of squats, 5 sets of pull-ups, that'll probably take you like close to half an hour with a warm-up. And if that's all you got for a workout, like, then that's it, and that's fine. So conceivably, you could choose 0 depending on if you have a little bit less time. Or it could be, again, in that full body example, you're kind of choosing 4 main exercises, and then you might do like a core exercise, an abs thing, or forearms or something like that. You probably wouldn't do forearms if you're doing like 2 full bodies, but you do like a core exercise. Now that's not like a main movement pattern, but it would still count as like an accessory. Just kind of sprinkle it in throughout the week as necessary. You don't need to do entire ab workouts. Like you don't need to do that. You just do a few sets, hard sets, intentional sets throughout the week, and you're good. So that, like, and the reason that I'm that I'm saying that is because just because it's leg day and there's a range here, if you say, okay, well, I want to do like the most, like I can do most. Okay, great. So I'll do 3 leg exercises. I'll do 3 main exercises, and I'll do 5 accessory exercises. That's 8 exercises total. If you do 8 legitimately hard leg exercises taken to a high degree of intensity, that is a terrible idea, because you'll destroy your legs. There's a chance for injury, but that's not even it's just so difficult that you can't possibly do it at a high enough intensity to matter. That's the bad part about this. You'll just be going through the motions, and you might do a lot of exercises, but you're not getting a lot out of them. And this is something that I'm going to come back to that's very important near the end, is the intensity of the things you do and how to select for that appropriately. So keep this in mind. I've said this before in this episode and before many times, like more is not better. Better is better. You don't need to do a bunch of exercises. You can have 8 exercises in your leg day workout, but maybe there's 2 core exercises in there. There's some other mobility stuff in there. And then you've got 3 or 4, maybe 5 like actual lifts. That would be like a fine workout to have, right? So just to emphasize all that. More is not better. Better is better. Let me just take a second to see if there's anything I missed up to this point here. I think we're pretty good. And I got to imagine there's someone listening right now that's like, oh, you didn't say this thing, or I have a question about this. And I wish this was a live thing so that I can answer that question. But if you do have questions, message me on Instagram or on X or whatever, or send me an email, and I'll answer that question for you if I don't answer it later in this episode. You might be thinking at this point, this guy's been talking a lot, half an hour in, and he hasn't even given me one exercise yet. What are we even doing? Choosing the actual exercises is the easy part. Once you have this whole framework laid out, you have the schedule, the weekly split, the number of exercises that you'll have time for, and that makes sense per workout, and you know that you have to hit all the things twice in a week or whatever. Choosing the exercises is just like a plug and play. You have a list of, there's a lot of exercises that exist, but there's only a few movement patterns. Realistically, there's like 10 exercises, and then there's just a million variations of all of those exercises. That is realistically how it works out. So the easiest way to do this then is to go by process of elimination, because there's so many options, right? And yes, the variations matter. Yes, the specific nuances matter. Yes, the angles matter. Yes, the grips matter. All that stuff. It does matter, but like not that much. You don't need to have, like, I saw someone doing this at the gym the other day, and it was very strange, but they don't know better. But they did a lat pull down with like an overhand grip, and then they did lat pull downs with an underhand grip, and then they did lat pull downs with like a neutral grip, and then they did single arm lat pull downs, which they were already like, this lat pull down machine was like one of the ones with like 2 separate cables so that each arm moves independently, and then they just did them one at a time. And I'm like, you just did the same exercise 4 times in a row. So like the variations matter, but like they're not that different. They're kind of all the same. You just pick one and go with it. And I kind of got ahead of myself there in choosing things. But the first thing to do is go by process of elimination. There's lots of exercises, go by process of elimination. So first things first, what equipment do you have access to? If you're working out at home and you don't have a full gym, obviously there's a ton of exercises that you might not be able to do, and that's okay. You just got to cross those off your list. Like hack squats and pendulum squats are phenomenal exercises. There's a lot of gyms that don't have those pieces of equipment, and if your gym doesn't have those, then you can't do those exercises, and that kind of sucks, but it's okay. It's no exercises are strictly required. Movement patterns are required. We need a squat pattern. We need a hinge. We need the upper body pull, the upper body push. Like we need these things, but we don't need to do a specific exercise unless you are competing in a sport that requires you to do that exercise, which is powerlifting. And you're not listening to this if that's you. So no exercises are strictly necessary. So figure out the equipment that you have at your gym, in your condo gym, at your home, at your wherever it is that you work out. Cross off all the stuff that you can't do, and that already saves you like a bunch of stuff. Next from there, this can also include like certain pieces of equipment that you like specifically like or dislike. Like if you hate the seated hamstring curl machine, that your gym has, but you don't mind the laying down hamstring curl one, then great. Then you'll just use the laying down hamstring curl one. Like the difference between those two things exists, but it's not so important that you must use one over the other or whatever. Like things like that. Like, oh, there's so many different back machines and rowing machines, and they vary by company, by like manufacturer, and then various angles, various grips, various loading patterns and stuff like this. If there are ones that you just like, hey, I just hate that machine at my gym, then just don't do that machine. Like it's not necessary. So you can kind of X off a few more like that. Along those same lines, you can then go through and eliminate any exercises that you genuinely hate and or are painful to you. And what I mean is not thinking like, oh fuck, Bulgarian split squats, like they're so hard, I don't like them. Not that. Like, I mean exercises that don't feel right to you, or they like actually just cause pain or some like actual tangible discomfort. If there are exercises like that for you, there shouldn't be a lot, excluding injury stuff. There shouldn't be a ton of exercises that feel bad for you. But if for some reason there are like a handful of exercises that you're like, hey, every time I do that exercise, like my shoulder hurts, then you're not doing those exercises. And that's it. And again, no exercises are strictly necessary. We can find a substitution that trains the same muscle, the same movement pattern, or some variation that achieves relatively the same goal by just using a different exercise. So eliminate the exercises, and there shouldn't be a lot here, but eliminate the exercises that are painful and or uncomfortable, or that you like legitimately loathe to the point where you won't go to the gym if that's in your program. But also like kind of just grow up. Like you can't hate an exercise that much. You can't just be like, oh, I hate Bulgarian split squats that much, I'm like not going to go to the gym. Like if that's you got to just stop being a baby and stop looking for the easy way out of things. But separate discussion. What else? Okay. Next step in exercise selection is what I was alluding to before. Now you've eliminated a fair amount of exercises. Gather all of the ones that are redundant. This is one of the biggest mistakes that I see often in the gym, and it's that exact story that I just told about the lat pull down with 4 different grips. That is like, this person spent so much time doing all these lat pull downs and they just did 4 of the exact same thing. Another one that I see that's like a little bit less obvious than that would be in chest workouts. People will do a flat barbell bench press, and then they'll go do flat dumbbell bench press, and then they'll do a flat machine chest press, and then they'll do a horizontal cable machine chest press. And it's like, okay, those are all each of those individually are great exercises, and they should be included in people's workout programs. But you don't need to do all 4 of those in the same workout. It's just redundant. It's the same thing 4 times in a row. You can just do one of them a little harder and you'll be better, right? And again, I'm going to come back to the evaluating this intensity thing at the end, and it's extremely important. So figure out the things that are redundant, and the way to figure this out, you don't need to be a trainer. You don't need to understand biomechanics or anatomy. You can look at things and just use some basic logic and observation to figure this out. The example that I just gave of the chest press, all of those things are literally the exact same movement. In your head, or like just sitting there, do the exercises without any weight and see if you're doing the same motion. If all the exercises in your workout are doing the exact same motion, you don't need to do all of those exercises. And this is truly one of the most common things that I see. I'll say this, as for everything, there's a time and a place. There is probably some sort of workout system or very specific thing where it makes sense to do like a bunch of redundant exercises, like in giant sets, or like very specific things that like you don't really need to concern yourself with. There's a time and a place for everything, so it might make sense in some scenarios to do 6 of basically the same exercise, but that's few and far between, and you probably shouldn't be doing that for the most part. So yeah, gather exercises that look the same, and then pick one of them. And maybe you can do 2 of them like across the week, or even 3 of them, but you don't need to do 4 of them or 2 of them or 3 of them or whatever in the same workout. Like pick one and then pick a different thing. You can do a flat press and an incline press those are great to have in the same workout because they're at least a little bit different. You don't need to do 3 different flat pressing variations in your workout. You don't need to do 4 different horizontal rowing variations in a workout. Like you got to change things. Do different exercises so you can actually get different effects, or just do one exercise for more sets or more intensely or whatever. That's a case of people trying to do more instead of doing better. By now, you will have narrowed down the options quite a bit, and you can just start plugging things in. Now, the biggest pro tip at this point in the programming process is to start thinking about like gym efficiency. And 2 examples of this is single arm or single leg unilateral, as we call them, exercises are phenomenal and should be included. But having multiple unilateral exercises in the same workout just makes your workout take longer. So if you've got single arm rows, split squats, step ups, and I don't know, some type of single arm pressing thing all in the same workout, like that's great. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just going to take longer because every set takes twice as long since you're only doing one side at a time. So if you have extra time, then great. But if you don't, then split those exercises up on different days, like 1 or 2 unilateral exercises per day is not making things terribly less efficient. So that's probably like the limit that I'd go to, 2 in a day. And then it also depends if they're main exercises, which you're having more rest and taking a little bit longer, versus like accessory exercises that you can kind of rip through a little bit faster. So those things to consider, but you consider like the amount of time that it's going to take. And so again, single arm or unilateral exercises, phenomenal. Just don't stack up too many of them in the same workout because it just makes the workout take long. And the second kind of pro tip here is to think about like the logistics of your own gym, and choose exercises or pieces of equipment that are close in proximity to each other, rather than in the order of exercises that you're doing, rather than picking like one thing that's in one corner of the gym, another thing that's on the other corner of the gym, the next exercise is like upstairs in another corner of the gym, and like you're just all over the map. Like try to just pick things that are closer together. It will just make your workout experience just more efficient overall, and that's just going to make you more likely to stick to it. It'll just be a more enjoyable experience, and the whole thing just becomes more efficient. You don't need to waste more time than you have to in the gym. So as a trainer, I mean, online sometimes it's tough because like I don't know everyone's gym. I'll see all gyms are laid out a little bit differently, but work with my clients on like, hey, okay, is this thing not work because like the hamstring curl machine is like really far from the dumbbell rack or something like that. And these are just considerations that we make, but we can communicate and just we can figure it out, as well as like the timing of the day that you're going. This even plays into this, and availability of equipment. If you know that like you're going to the gym at a busy time, if you're like a 5:30, 6 o'clock gym person, and so is everyone else, and you somehow choose like 3 different exercises that need a barbell or something like that, and there's only, there's a limited amount of barbells in your gym, like that might be not a great move because like you're just gonna be fighting people for the equipment the whole time. And so little things like that, like you've got to consider. But these are the individual. This is why you individualize workouts. Like I can write a workout that's a phenomenal workout, but it might just not work out that well in your gym because of the logistics of your gym. And so this is why we individualize things, right? And I made the analogy before, you individualize and customize your burritos. Like why wouldn't you do the same thing for your workouts? It makes no sense. With the efficiency of the exercises, this is also where using supersets kind of comes in, and like how and when and why to use supersets is like going to go a little bit off topic here, which I won't go too much into, but like this is where you'd want to do a superset with like the same equipment, right? You do 2 exercises back to back that like both use the same dumbbells, or a bench and nothing, or a machine, or like 2 barbell things. There are many ways to split it up, and they're not like better or worse. Like they're efficient sometimes, but sometimes trying to be efficient makes the exercises worse. So there's a time and a place for everything. You don't need to superset things. You don't need to rush through things. That doesn't make things better. But some things can be supersetted just to like literally just save time, and only if they're efficient in the gym. Like an example could be if you were doing at the end of a leg workout, like a lateral lunge. That's kind of like an adductor, kind of like a mobility thing. Would be more of like an accessory exercise. You're not like using a ton of weight, maybe no weight at all. You can do your lateral lunges, and then you could do that like beside wherever like a pull-up bar is, and then do like some hanging leg raises in between. So you're getting your abs in on your leg day, and you're getting your lateral lunges in. Now, neither of those things are preventing the other one from doing them. Neither of those things require like 5 minutes of sitting down and resting and contemplating your life like after back squats would. And so that would be like an easy way to like use a superset that would just be a little bit more time efficient than if you did 3 sets of lateral lunges and then 3 sets of hanging leg raises, for example. You could do like reverse flies, like for your rear delts or your upper back, and then do like gar hammer raises, like leg raises on the bench. You don't even have to change the incline of the bench. Like you leave the bench as it is, and neither of those things are impacting your ability to do the other, and you're just being a little bit more efficient for time. So this is where supersets come in, but you got to be smart about how you do them. Otherwise, if you're trying to do like leg extensions and I don't know, barbell shoulder press for some reason, if you're trying to superset those things, like those are unlikely to be close to each other in the gym. And first of all, that would maybe be a pairing that doesn't really make a ton of sense, but like they're so far away from each other that you're just doing yourself a disservice. Like you'll lose if you're at a commercial gym, someone's going to take your thing. It just wouldn't work. That would be an obvious kind of like bad one to set up, right? So you gotta be smart about it, be a little bit efficient in the gym, like with the logistics. So after all that, now you start kind of plugging and playing and plugging in and looking at things, and it's helpful to put it on paper or like on a document on your computer. And with enough tweaking, the way that I'll do it is like I'll put all the exercises on paper, and then I kind of like I'll literally copy and paste. Like I drag them into spots and be like, oh, at that guy's gym, like these things are far, so don't do that. Or put this on this day. Switch those ones because that's better on like the Monday than like the Thursday. You just kind of plug and play and see what works best here, and you'll know kind of what works best for you as long as you have all your stuff like organized and all the exercises selected. You're just gonna plug and play and go at it. Then really, once you have it all done, you go in the gym and you do it, and then you might in the first week of the program, then you might realize, oh, that exercise is like this pairing wasn't good, this order was wrong, and then you can switch things up, right? It always looks different on paper than it is in practice. So don't be scared to like, hey, I'm just gonna see how this rolls. If it's good, great, continue. If not, then I'll make the tweaks necessary for the next week, and then it'll be solid going there. So you should have all your exercises down. You should have your program ready to go, and it should be like looking pretty good now. Now, the last thing that you need to include here and figure out is how many reps, how many sets, which is always a big question as well. So I've said this already. Everything else in this podcast always comes with like an it depends, or maybe, and there's a time and a place for everything. Certainly for this part, like there are no hard and fast rules about reps and sets. Like there's very general recommendations. Like very generally, lower reps are used more for building strength. Higher reps are used more for building muscle. Higher reps are absolutely not for losing weight. That is like just a misunderstanding of how exercise and physiology works. But again, not going into that. I've explained it elsewhere. Not talking about that today. So lower reps, building strength. Higher reps, generally building muscle. And there's obviously a lot of overlap there. And then also in general, for the sets, if you're doing an exercise with lower reps, you can generally do more sets. And if you're doing higher reps, you can generally do less sets. For your main exercises, you'll likely do like lower reps. Like you're not going to, there's not never, but you're probably not going to do like 15 reps of back squats. So you'll more likely go like lower reps on your main exercises, and therefore more sets, and maybe like 3 to 6 sets on your main exercises. And for your accessory exercises, you'll go like 2 to 3 sets. Practically speaking, for the reps, as long as you're between like 6 to 15 or so, you're good. These can change and alter over time. Like in programming, we can loosely alternate between phases of what's called accumulation and then intensification. Accumulation would be a phase of a little bit higher volume, so more reps, more sets, just more work volume overall. And after 6 to 8 weeks, you switch to a period of intensification where you're going to have lower reps, heavier weights, that kind of stuff, and you're working on building more strength. And there's a lot of systems within those two things, but these are the two big buckets, and then you just kind of alternate these for the rest of your life. Basically, that's the sentence that you're signing up for here. You just alternate intensification and accumulation for forever in accordance with your goals. But yeah, your reps. There are definitely like better and worse for a certain goal or a certain training age or a certain something like that. But there isn't necessarily like a right and wrong. It's not like if you do 12 reps of back squats, you're not going to make progress. And if you do 6 reps of back squats, you will make progress. Like this is where the whole intensity verification and moderation kind of comes in. Like this is very important now. Your muscles, they can't count. They are kind of dumb in that way. All they do is contract and relax, and they understand forces that are applied to them. So the number of reps that you do an exercise for is really just a reflection of the intensity of that exercise compared to the absolute maximum intensity. So if you think about your 1 rep max, let's say your absolute, let's just use back squats because I always go to that example. Let's use bench press. It's more fun. Your 1 rep max on bench press, let's say it's, just for ease of numbers, let's say it's 100 pounds. You could do 1 rep of 100 pounds. You could absolutely not do 2. That is your true 1 rep maximum. Well, if you have 6 reps of back squats or 6 sets of bench press programmed, obviously you can't do 100 pounds. So you can do some amount less than 100. There are like some, equated percentages and stuff like that. And it does roughly equate to some things, but knowing those is not important. So the 6 reps that you're trying to do doesn't mean just do 6 reps at any weight. Because if your 1 rep max is 100 pounds, you can probably, and you use 50 pounds, you could probably do way more than 6 reps at half of your, like 50% of your 1 rep max, right? Half of your 1 rep max weight. So you don't need to just follow the number of reps because the number of reps doesn't matter, right? Your muscles can't count. You do 6 reps of that 50 pounds on the bench press, your body's not going to be like, oh, yep, he did 6 reps, time to grow the chest. Even though 6 reps at 50 pounds wasn't difficult at all. So the muscles can't count. They only respond to intensities. The numbers are just a reflection of where you should be reaching the point of extreme difficulty or getting close to failure. So if your program says to do 6 reps or to do 8 reps or to do 12 reps or whatever, it means that when you get to that rep number, you shouldn't be able to do many more, if any at all. The way that I kind of like to define this is this. If it says to do 10 reps, when you get to the 10th rep, you might be able to do 11, maybe 12. If you can get 13 reps, it's probably a little bit too easy and you can probably go up in weight. This is also why when we, as coaches, when we like prescribe a rep or reps to a client, they're often given in a range, and it's because the exact number doesn't matter. No one can guess the exact number. So you'll say 10 to 12 reps. Well, why? 1, because I just need you to land somewhere in that amount of intensity. So if you get to 10, and we want to be like 12 or under, 12 to 10 to 12. But you could do like 15 reps. Well, it's too, then the weight is too light, or something else is too easy. The weight is too light, most likely. Then you can go up in weight. You should be able to get 12, 13, maybe squeeze out a 14th, and then you're at that right intensity, right? And there's a time to go to actual failure where it's like, hey, I got 10, I literally couldn't get 11 if my life depended on it. Or like you could barely even get 10 and you only got 9, in which case you'd be going a little bit too high intensity for what the program is calling for. So the intensity is dictated, or like the weight that you're using is dictated by the number of reps that you're aiming for. But the number of reps itself doesn't actually matter. It's just a marker that like, hey, if this says 8 reps, choose a weight that you could get about 8 reps at. And that might sound obvious, but I can't even begin to tell you how many people I see and have like seen working out in the gym where they just stop an exercise at 10 reps because like, well, you know, the program says to do 10 reps of this. I'm like, yeah, but you could have done 25. Like, how is that helping you? It's not. The muscles only understand intensities and forces that are applied to them, and then they will respond to those forces by growing or getting stronger or whatever it is that they're going to do. Well, those two things. You need to train hard. You need to train intensely. So you choose the number of reps to reflect where you should be hitting failure or getting close to the point of hitting failure on an exercise. And this is unbelievably important. Like, this is the most important concept of this entire podcast. If you remember nothing else from this, please kind of like rewind the last whatever couple minutes and re-listen to that, because this is the most important thing. Your body cannot count. It just needs sufficient stimulus in order to change. And training hard, pushing your sets to or close to failure is how you provide sufficient stimulus to elicit change to then get the results that you're looking for. If you ignore everything else from the whole beginning part of this podcast, and you choose imperfect exercises, you choose a weird split that doesn't make sense, like you just kind of like, you choose all the wrong stuff, weird exercises, all this stuff, but you have a suboptimal setup, but you just like train hard and you like train as hard as you can and are consistent at it, you will get results. That pains me to say it, but you will get results. You'll certainly see better success if you do things like correctly and have a good setup and choose good exercises and have a good schedule and all that stuff. You'll definitely see better success and better results if you do things quote unquote optimally or correctly or more correctly. But if all you do is train hard, you will see results. And unfortunately, like the reverse is not that true, where you could have the perfect program, but if you don't train hard, you could have the most like scientifically sound like workout split, schedule, regimented, perfectly balanced program, the right number of reps, the right number of sets, the right rest times, like all the right stuff. If you don't train hard at those things, if you stop at 10, but you could have got 25 every single time, you will barely see results. So training hard trumps a lot of things. And so do that. Understandably, as we start to wrap this up, all of this can be like a lot to think about and to remember and to consider. You work hard at your job. You probably don't want to come home and have to figure out these things and have to think about this and analyze this and choose this exercise and figure this out and whatever it is. But you also realize that like having a customized workout program is going to help you get better results at the gym. You spend a lot of effort and you want to get like a good return on that effort. You want to know that all the time and all the energy that you're spending there is being put to good use. So you know that having a customized program, something that's a little bit better for you or a little bit more tailored to you rather, a little bit more optimally written, so to speak, is just gonna give you better results. This is why it's important to spend the time to do things that are good for you or individualized to you, or where people like myself, trainers, come in handy because, I've written hundreds, like maybe thousands at this point of programs for people and clients and taking them through it. And there are unlimited workout programs that are out there. Like I've given out millions and people, no, not millions. Let's get real, but I've given out tons and everyone I know, like all trainer friends, all whatever, people giving away free programs, free training, free all this stuff. And like, you can give away all cookie cutter stuff. doesn't really like, people don't use them, doesn't help that much. There's something about like the paying for it, and there's something about the knowing that it's individualized that makes you actually do it, and then actually doing it and doing with intensity is the thing that, shocker, will get you some results. But I also understand this. Some of you don't necessarily need coaching. You're like pretty like, you're solid on your diet. You're solid on the lifestyle stuff. Like you sleep well, you get your steps, like all the stuff is like taken care of more or less. You don't necessarily need a coach, and maybe you don't want the accountability. Maybe you're good on the accountability. You have it elsewhere. You don't need the support and all the other stuff that comes with coaching on the lifestyle side of things and diet. But you just want a plan that like makes sense for you and it's tailored for you. And like, you don't want to have to think about it. I get all that stuff. I get you. And I got you. Ask and you shall receive, so to speak, right? As of today, I'll start to be offering these custom workout programs, and without all the extras of coaching. Of course, I'll still have my one-on-one clients, and I'll still offer coaching. It'll still be the main thing that I do and that I'll offer. But for people like you, if you're like, hey, I don't really want coaching, I just need a workout program that like is tailored to me. I just don't really want to think about it. Can you give me the plan that works for me? Yes, I can. We'll get on the phone. We'll talk, and if you don't want to talk on the phone, don't have time, we can do it by email, and I can get some information from you as far as your schedule, gym availability, equipment, and other useful parameters, maybe injuries, training age, training history, all this kind of stuff that's relevant. And then I'll come up with a workout program, send it off to you on my training app, and then you go and do it, and you do your thing. But at least you know that, hey, this workout is tailored to me. It's catered to my needs, to my goals, and it's actually going to help me get better results than just following some random workout program that I found online or that I copied off some guy at the gym who like, I just copy his workouts. It's fine, but like, it's just not as good as it could be, right? So this is something I'll be offering off from here on out. Obviously this will be much cheaper than coaching because like, I'm not going to be checking in with you and all that stuff, which is probably the most valuable part of coaching, is all the check-ins and all the extra stuff additionally to the actual workout program itself. Like all the ongoing support. But if that's not what you're looking for anyways, then I guess like in theory, like that's not valuable to you. You just want the plan, and know that it works for you, and that's what I'll deliver. So I'll put a link to the page where you can sign up for that in the description or of this video, or the description of the podcast. I was thinking about this as well. If you're listening to the episode at like some point in the future, like not near around the time when it's released, and you click the link, like there will be periods of time where I'll have to make the link inactive because I'll actually be like talking to each person individually and writing these programs. So like, let's say 100 people reach out to me all at the same time. I don't want you to have to wait for weeks and weeks and weeks to get this. I don't think that's fair, or that's right. That's not how I want to do it. So I'll have to like obviously be able to handle the number of people that are taking me up on this. So if you click the link and it's like inactive, I don't know how I'll set it up, and maybe there's like a wait list or something of some sort. But if you click the link and it's like doesn't take you to the page where you can just sign up for it, it's because like, just give me a couple days or maybe a week or so to kind of get caught up on the people who are doing it, and so that I can give everyone what they need and what they want in a quick, timely fashion, rather than you sign up and then it's going to take me 3 weeks because I'm backlogged on other people. So I'll just have to, so just in case you click the link and it's not active or something, like that'll be why. But maybe I'll set something up where you can kind of be like notified when it's like ready to go again or something. I'll see if I can figure that out. I'm sure I can. Everything is figure outable, but just to say that if the link doesn't work, that's why. Otherwise, if it's active, then and you click on it and it works, then have at it. Then I'm ready to go with it on you, ready to go with that for you rather, and that's that. So again, I know this was a lot. I know that there's a lot here. This is why like I had trouble kind of figuring out how to deliver like that document that I read, and I still have it on my computer. It's not like fully polished, and I still don't know how to, like, maybe I'll release it. I don't know. I just don't know how to do it in a way that's going to be actually useful for people, because if it's just a free giveaway thing, like no one's going to use it. I've given away so many workouts and so many free training things, and like some people use them, but like the percentage of utilization on those things is astronomically low. So I don't want this to be a thing that people just have on their computer and don't read for somehow. So I think this is the best way. Kind of give all the information in the podcast. If you want it, take it, do your thing, or like, hey, I'll just like literally just do this for you. So that's it. And people will actually use it if you pay for it, because that's just how human psychology works, fortunately or unfortunately. So I hope this has been helpful either way. I hope that, you're able to make your own workouts from this, and this gives you a good framework and a way to think about things in a way that's logical, systematic, and that makes sense, so you can have better workouts, so you're not doing a bunch of redundant, unnecessary, silly things in the gym. You stick to the basics, you stick to what works, you write up a plan that makes sense, and then you follow through. And when you do that, good things happen. So with that, I will close this episode off. Again, the link to get a customized workout program will be in the show notes. I'll also have a free workout in the show notes, as I always do. If you just want a kind of a sample of like how I program and stuff like that, that's always in there. Obviously, it's not customized, but it's there. Probably no one will use it, because that's how it happens with free things. But yeah, let's just cut it off there. I appreciate each and every one of you. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you please leave me a review. Spotify, iTunes, tell your friends, all that good stuff. I appreciate you very, 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 very much. Go outside. Be a good person. See you soon.